Yep. Yep. Yeah, sure. I'll just get back to you on that, okay? Yeah. Sure, sure. Bye bye.
Who is that calling?
Oh, it's nothing. Just a friend of mine. He's looking to come to Canada to study.
Oh, like, does he know what the process is? How to come to Canada?
Not yet, actually. That's why he called me. He asked me if
Oh,
I knew something, but I never studied here. So, hey, one second. Like, you studied in Canada, right? You came as a student, didn't you?
yes, I did.
So, would you be able to help, me and my friend through this process?
Of course, why not?
Hey
Hey guys!
guys, welcome back to our channel. Thank you so much for supporting us as always.
If you're new to this channel, please make sure to hit the subscribe button down below as we post videos every Thursday and Sunday on Canada, our life in Canada, and how you can move to Canada as a resident. Please also make sure to hit the like button so that other people can view this video, and also the bell icon so that every time we post a video, you're able to know about it.
So guys, in the earlier video, we spoke about some of the different ways through which you can immigrate to Canada permanently. If you haven't checked it out, please make sure to check it out and I will leave a link in the description box below. So in this video, we are going to talk about how you can immigrate to Canada as a student and what are some of the documentations you need to submit if you're applying for a student visa, what is the eligibility criteria, and what are some of the prerequisites that you might need to consider for this.
Guys, make sure to stay until the end of the video as we've summarized some really important information that we feel you will really find valuable.
So let's get straight into the video. So let's first start with what's a study permit. A study permit is a document which allows you to study in a university or a college in Canada. So on this screen is a sample study permit. So this is how it looks like. Usually this document is given to you at your first port of entry by your immigration officer, the one who conducts your interview once he's convinced that you're here in Canada to study. But guys, there's just one thing you need to remember. A study permit is just a document which allows you to study in Canada, but it's not your visa. So you have to apply for a temporary resident visa in order to enter the country. So make sure when you submit your student visa that you have enclosed all the documentations that you need for a study permit and a temporary resident visa so that nothing gets missed.
So guys, there are two different streams when you're applying for a study permit. One is the student direct stream and then there is a regular stream. Right now we will talk about the regular stream to apply for a student permit, and then later on we'll talk about how the student direct stream works and what the difference is between the two streams.
Hey guys, if you like the content we are posting, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you don't miss any videos that we post.
And please make sure to press the like button so that other people will be able to watch the same content and benefit from it.
Please make sure to share it with your friends and families.
Thank you guys. Guys, let's talk about the regular study permit stream. In 2016, when I moved to Canada as a student, this was a stream that I used to apply for my study permit and my visa. And I want to explain to you guys what the various eligibility criteria are to be able to qualify for this study permit. Now let's head straight into them. Criteria number 1, admission at a designated learning institute. Guys, if you're coming to Canada to do your bachelor's, master's, or any other degree, you need to make sure that you have an acceptance letter from the university or college that you're going to study. And you also need to make sure that this university or college is part of the designated learning institute. If your institute is not part of that, then you will not be eligible to be able to apply for a study permit. In fact, my advice to you guys would be before you even apply to university or college for admission, look into the list of designated learning institute to see if the list of colleges that you want to apply are part of that list, and then create like a list of colleges that you want to apply for based on that institution list. This is the page where you can find out the whether your university or college that you have admission to is part of the designated learning institutions list. Now in this page, if you go all the way down, you can choose the province or territory where your university or college is. So I'm going to do this for my case when I applied to the University of Alberta. So the province was Alberta. So I'm going to choose Alberta. As you can see, these are the various institutions in Alberta that are approved under the DLI number, and these are the numbers. So I'm going to go in the filter items tab and I'm going to type University of Alberta. Oh, as you can see here, it's already shown up. And so the University of Alberta already has a designated DLI number and it has several campuses. And so this is how you guys can also find out if your university or college is part of the designated learning institution list. Now, the documents that I used to show proof that I was part of or I was applying to a designated learning institute was one, the acceptance letter from the university, two, the proof of me paying a non-refundable deposit. Guys, criteria number two is proof of funds. You need to show to the immigration officer that you have enough money not only to be able to finish your education here, but also to support yourself when you move to Canada. Now, when in terms of on the amount that you need to show for tuition fee, all you need to show is that you can support yourself in the first year of your university or college degree here. In terms of living expenses, it actually varies depending on which province you decide to immigrate to. Now, let's say you decide to immigrate to any province outside of Quebec. Let's take my scenario when I moved to Alberta. Then, for one person, you need to show 10,000 Canadian dollars for proof of living. Now, if I had a partner, then I would have had to show 14,000 Canadian dollars. And if I had a partner and a child, I would have had to show 17,000 Canadian dollars in any province outside Quebec. In the case of Quebec, yeah, for one person for proof of living, they need to show 6,569 Canadian dollars. If the person had a partner, then they needed to show 13,139 Canadian dollars. And if the person had a partner and a child, then they needed to show $21,579. Now, this is just my suggestion to you guys, but since this is for living expenses, I would rather show this in a liquid form where these funds are easily accessible and it obviously has to be in your name. Or even better, I would suggest that you transfer this money into something called a guaranteed investment certificate in Canada. In 2016, when I decided to immigrate to Canada, I transferred 10,000 Canadian dollars to Scotiabank, one of the big five banks in Canada, and I used that to show proof for funds to IRCC. Now, some of the documents that I used to show proof of funds included number one, the loan that I got from the financial institution or bank, showing the amount that they will pay the university or they will pay for my studies. Number two, I showed proof of my scholarship and the amount of scholarship that I was getting. Number three, I of course showed the guaranteed investment certificate that I got from Scotiabank. And number four, I also included the non-refundable deposit that I paid for the university, which was a small amount, but again, it adds proof that I've paid that much amount already to the university. So these are some of the documents that I used. Guys, my logic has always been the more funds that I can show, the better it is. But I would also suggest that you make sure that this funds have been in your bank account for more than 6 months, because you will need to submit your last 4 to 6 months of bank statement. So you need to be able to show to IRCC these funds have been there for a longer period of time, and not just for the scenario where you're showing these funds for this specific scenario. So that's another suggestion that I wanted to give you guys. Now let's move on to the next criteria.
The next two criteria are not just for study permit, but for many other immigration pathways as well. The first one being the police clearance certificate. So it's absolutely important that you can convince the immigration officer that you do not have any criminal history in the country you're from. So one way to do this is to secure a police clearance certificate currently, in the area you're residing at. So let me just walk you through how you can get a police certificate. So this is a link that you go to, and I will leave it down below in the description box. So you first need to select your country or territory you're from. So for example, I'm just going to choose India. And I'm going to head on find out how to apply. So this will give you some essential details, and then you have a few links as to how you can apply. So it can be either through your local district police station, or there's a passport office, Indian embassy, or international center. In our scenario, both Manoj and I applied from India. So we applied through the Passport Seva Kendra, and we received our police clearance certificate in about 24 hours. So that's something you can utilize if you're from India. And if you're from a different country, then you can absolutely go into the link that I just shared previously to see what or the ways through which you can secure one. Now, the next important criteria is your medical examination. So guys, you must take a medical test and prove to IRCC that you do not have any illness that makes you inadmissible to enter Canada. So there's one important thing that you need to remember here, that this test cannot be taken by your family physician or in some random clinic. So this has to be taken by the panel physician set up by the IRCC. These physicians have been trained for the very same purpose. So I will just walk you through the list, and I will also leave the link down in the description box below. So this is how you can go and ensure that the person or the place you're getting your medical test done is actually verified by the IRCC. Now to find a panel physician, go into the link as I mentioned, and here you can select your country you're from. So again, I'm just going to choose India, and I'm going to hit on go. So once I get the country, then you have a list of hospitals or clinics that you can actually get an appointment to get your medical test done for your Canada visa. Now, the cost of getting this test is about 100 Canadian dollars. So make sure that you secure an appointment beforehand. So you can either do it before you apply for your study permit, or once you get a notification from IRCC requesting you to get a medical test done.
Criteria number 5, and guys, this is not something that's clear or evident, but you need to be able to show to the immigration officer that you will leave Canada at the end of your studies, and you will also have to show how the studies fit with your overall career progression. Now, guys, this is something that may be overlooked by a lot of people, but you need to be showing the officer that once you finish your 2-year study or 4-year study, you will leave Canada. Now, if you're like my wife Priya, who is asking this question, I am moving to Canada to to finish studying, work there, and then hopefully become a resident at some point. Why should I show the officer this? Well, I also don't have an answer for you, but some guesses that I've seen out there include one, the government does not want people to be dependent on them for social benefits, and from others I've heard that it is about safety. Now, regardless of whatever the reason is, we have a criteria that we need to follow, and the best place in order to be able to showing this is the letter of explanation. Now, in 2016, when I applied, I did include a letter of explanation. And today, I want to walk you guys through how I broke that letter of explanation into 3 different parts in order to explain to the officer my intention of studying at the university in Canada and how I was planning to go back. Now, my background is that of a chemical engineer. And so, in the first section of the letter, I talked about why this was the right time for me to study at the University of Alberta, where I did my business program. So I used my previous experience and showed that the MBA would actually help me gain some leadership and management experience on top of the existing technical skills that I had gained over the course of my job experience in the oil and gas sector. For those who don't have any previous experience, I would suggest that you talk about the exposure to, let's say, foreign culture, the ability to be able to develop some of your skill sets, and so on and so forth, in order to be able to show to the officer as to why that specific this is the right time for you to study in Canada. The second section that I used was to show the officer where I got admission at and why this university or college was the best for me in terms of progressing my career ahead. At that time, University of Alberta was in the top 100 in the Financial Times rankings, and oil and gas has been a bread and butter for what Alberta stands for. And so it was really clear for me to be able to show to the officer that I was leveraging some of my previous oil and gas experience and coming here to this university so that I can improve my knowledge in the same sector while gaining some other skills such as leadership, collaboration, teamwork, and so on and so forth. And so this is the second section that I used to as part of the letter of explanation. The third and final section was to show to the officer that I would in fact leave Canada at the end of my studies, and I used the fact that the Indian global chemical sector was growing at that time, and so I could leverage all of the experience that I gained here to go back and to be able to better the sector and bring more knowledge from a foreign country. And so I would suggest for those who don't have the experience to research a little bit on how the degree that they're taking or the diploma or any of the qualifications that they're doing will be useful when they go back to their country of origin after finishing their studies. Now, in this way, I was able to split that letter of explanation into 3 different sections. Let me repeat that again. Section 1 was, why was this the right time for me to come to Canada to study and what was my previous experience. Section number 2 which university or college am I getting admission at, and why was that university or college the best fit for me. And finally, showing to the officer that you will leave Canada at the end of your studies, and how you will be able to leverage the skills that you gained here in the country of origin. Now, I would recommend that you guys split the letter of explanation this way, and you will be able to make sure you're able to tell the officer a story around, your value in terms of coming to Canada, and as well as obliged to the fact that you will be going back to the country of origin once you finish your education.
Now that we've explored the different eligibility criteria and other aspects of the regular stream, there's another way through which you can apply for study permit, which is the student direct stream. So the primary difference between the regular stream versus the student direct stream is the processing time. So the regular stream takes about 13 weeks to process, while the student direct stream takes about 20 calendar days to process. Now, this is an important criteria that you can take into consideration, based on which you can decide if you're going to go through the regular stream or through the student direct stream. Now, let's explore the student direct stream further.
Guys, the student direct stream is one of the most popular ways in which students come to Canada. Now, there are essentially three eligibility criteria that varies from the regular stream to the student direct stream, and let us take a look as to what they are. Number one, students from only certain countries will be able to apply through the student direct stream. Now, if you're looking at the list of countries, let's take a look on the website of IRCC. So guys, this is the link that you need to follow to see the list of eligible countries under the student direct stream. If you're a resident among one of these countries and you're applying to study in Canada, then you'll be able to apply through the student direct stream. And vice versa, if you're not from one of these countries, then you can only apply through the regular study permit stream. And so please make sure to check this list before you choose which stream you are going into. Guys, the second eligibility criteria that is mandatory under the student direct stream is that you need to show $10,000 in terms of living expenses only in the form of a guaranteed investment certificate or a GIC. If you remember, in the student permit in the regular stream, we discussed various ways in which you could be showing the proof of funds, whereas here in the student direct stream, there is only one option for you, and that is through a GIC. And you have to make sure that these GICs are offered by a recognized institution by the government. As you guys can see here, these are the financial institutions that are currently offering GICs. You will have to use money transfer service to transfer money from India to one of these banks. I would personally recommend using Wise, because I think they offer really good rates, and it helps keep your fees down low. I am not being sponsored by Wise or anything. This is one of the methods that I use to transfer money from India to Canada, and so this list of institutions can be found on the same website where I just showed you the list of places where you can apply for the student direct stream. The third criteria under the student direct stream is that you need to show your proof of proficiency over the English language by taking an IELTS test, or proof of proficiency over a French language by taking a TEF test. There is also a minimum band that you need to clear. So if you're taking the IELTS test, your CLB benchmark has to be 6 and above in each of the categories, which is reading, listening, writing, and speaking. And if you're taking the TEF test, then your CLB benchmark has to be over 7. Now, the average cost for taking an IELTS test is around 300 Canadian dollars. So make sure to budget for this, and make sure to score beyond the benchmark that I mentioned in order to be eligible to apply under the student direct stream. Now, in terms of the police clearance certificate, the medical check through a panel physician, and other proof of funds in terms of showing your first year tuition and everything, the documents required and everything is similar to what I discussed earlier in the regular student stream. So make sure to go back a few sections to check out what are the different documentations that I used. But this is the main difference in terms of what a student direct stream is and what a regular study permit under the regular stream is. So guys, we hope we've been able to give you enough information to let you know the differentiation between the student direct stream and the regular study permit stream. Now, these documentation and information should apply to most of the provinces, and there is a small difference between Quebec versus the rest of the provinces. If your intended study is in a university or college in Quebec, You will also have to submit a Quebec acceptance certificate, which you will have to apply directly to the government of Quebec, and you have to submit that along with all these documents to IRCC when you're applying for your study permit or visa. So make sure, guys, you don't forget that if your institution is in Quebec.
So guys, now that we've come to the end of the video, as a reward for all of you guys, we're just gonna summarize all the costs that you might incur during this process. So that's right on the screen for you. So if you have any further questions, do feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. We hope we have given you a better insight as to, some of the ways through which you can come as a student to Canada, which might benefit you. So as always, we recommend you to do your own research.
So guys, if you really like this video, please make sure to smash that like button. And if you want more informational videos like this, please make sure to subscribe to Unconventional Immigrants and share this with your family and friends so that they can also be informed about this.
See you guys in another video.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.